Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we're going to be watching episodes 351 and 352 of Bleach. So in the last couple of episodes, we really got introduced to Tsukishima. I don't know why I always prefer his name, I do, but it's too many syllables, I guess, for me. But we really got introduced to him, who is, of course, the character who attacked Ishida, and we got introduced to him in like this more villain role. He's kind of been this ominous, faceless kind of person in the background for the first part of this arc, but getting a little bit of a backstory on him, finding out that he used to be the leader of this group that Ginjo is now sort of in the leadership role of, and how these Fullbringer users were looking up to him. He's the one who figured out that everyone could turn human again if they gave their powers to a substitute Shinigami, but he ended up turning on them and killing a bunch of people. Not the nicest person, and we got a little bit of some hints at what exactly his abilities would be. All of the Fullbringer's abilities seem to be connected to the item that they kind of channel their ability through, so they have connections between what the item is and how they use their abilities. Like we have Sedo, who like uses his body, so that's why he kind of has this armor type ability. Ichigo, using the combat pass, has kind of a shield feeling to it. So we got to see Ichigo's powers in the last couple of episodes too, but I feel like we'll kind of properly get into that later. So Tsukishima's powers are connected to this bookmark. He uses the bookmark as like item to channel his Fullbringer ability through, and he seems to have some kind of connection with books and like narratives and stuff like that, and it seemed like he was playing with Orahime's perceptions, which makes me think that he has some kind of ability to like rewrite people, perceptions of him. I think it's specifically him. I don't know if he can kind of change a bunch of stuff like we had with Aizen, where he could like play with people's senses, so he could make these illusions pretty much about anything around people. I think that Tsukishima's is kind of focused more on like maybe his part in people's narrative, because we had Orihime thinking that they were friends, and her memory of their interaction was kind of muddied, so I feel like maybe that's part of how his ability works and how he's able to kind of manipulate people into working for him, helping him. But we did get a little bit of a hint at the end of the last episode that he might be targeting Ichigo just straight out, because he thinks that that'll be something that Ginjo and his group of people that he's with aren't gonna expect him to do, to kind of be that straightforward. And he's kind of played around, kind of, I feel like, manipulating Ichigo, intimidating him. We had him like leading Ichigo to his sister and having the hollow attack. We've had him attacking his friends like Ishida, which I think probably some stuff is going on with Ishida in terms of like his perception being warped. We had some out of character moments with him while he was in the hospital, so I feel like that might be because of Tsukishima's abilities. He's kind of been playing around with Ichigo's life in terms of like his friends and manipulating Ichigo's actions, so it looks like maybe we'll get something a little bit more straightforward with their interactions. And we also got a little bit of a hint of Ishin and Urahara, who are doing something in the background. I'm assuming it has to do with Fullbringer. Maybe it's some Soul Society related thing, but we kind of like put Soul Society like on hold, like we're not really dealing with other Soul Reapers. It's really just people who have this Fullbringer ability. So I don't know, I'm assuming Ichigo's gonna be attacked in some way, and we're gonna start off with Totoro. That's just kind of how this is gonna go, but let's get into episode 351. In 3, 2, 1, go. Totoro, just off the bat. I was caught off guard in the last one, so I just feel like the stakes are about to go up. I mean, they did in the last one because of Orihime being confronted. So it definitely feels like things are starting to kind of ramp up. Also, I ask forgiveness now for being like maybe a little bit stiff during this reaction because I hurt my neck. So if you see me like wince or like not move like I normally would, that's why. Like I would usually be probably dancing a bit to this opener, but I will refrain. I hope nothing happens to like super shock me because I might get like whiplash or something. I'm definitely not ready for what's gonna happen. Um, Backstory? Her backstory? We haven't really done anything with her character yet. I'm pretty sure they said her name, but I don't remember. Me too. I have really bad nightmares though, so Ichigo is not amused. Did he come back for training after letting his body heal? A cage this time? I want to know about his power too, the like video game person. It's like the PSP. Yes, I remember. True. He's gonna have to kind of uh like they probably don't know exactly how to help him because they just kind of were born with the ability and they just kind of figured it out over years of like naturally dealing with it. So it's probably difficult for them to figure out exactly how they're going to train someone to figure it out when they're like 17 years old. He does tend to just kind of go to extremes with his training. It's like when he was fighting a bunch of Visored. Look how the pig has the two on it. Yeah, he just sort of throws himself into conflicts. He's more of a hands-on, make it up as you go kind of a learner. He's not really a slow and steady progress kind of a person. that determined look. He's like, bring it on. Are you gonna be part of the training this time? Since we started with your perspective? Are we not, going after Ichigo like we planned? I don't know if I like that look. Because of like the lines near his eyes, you can tell that there's like a slight shift in the expression. It's not like a relaxed facial expression. I mean, that has also happened to Ichigo. We remember when Ichigo taken over the reins. It's not like Ichigo hasn't gotten in trouble for rushing through his training before. That also seems bad. I feel like Ichigo's soul should stay where it is. Also a good point. Forcing them to use an ability they don't actually like is probably not the most considerate thing either. I feel like maybe she remembers something connected to the hollow attack that like resulted in the Fullbringer. And that's like what the Jackie, that was her name. Um that's like what the flashback was about. It's probably the same guy who's the pig, right? That they brought, yeah, last time. Oh, did they bring another one? Sure. True. You might not like something that like happens to you or like something some trait about yourself, but like it still like impacts other things that happen in your life. So like even good things that happen later are still like a result of like things that you've already gone through. Or is the flashback from her discovering her Fullbringer powers? And there was a, because obviously if you're figuring out your power for the first time and you don't really know how to use it and you're a kid, like awful things can happen as a result. It would explain like her hesitance to use it. There's my boy. You should probably be in school. Like if you're not like training this whole Fullbringer thing, like you should go to you should graduate. Is that though? At least you've made it this far. That's what I'm thinking too. There's something suspicious going on with Ishida. That would be really stressful too. If like, you can see the pattern of like your friends being attacked and then he like um he like knows that something might be happening to him as a result. You gotta finish the training though, right? Because the deal that uh Kiriko's power involves. He's gonna have to figure it out on his own. Is she gonna go help? Is that how we're gonna learn about her ability, maybe? Is she gonna, is he gonna bring her around to his way of thinking? Or at least so that she understands his thinking. Oh, see, so it seems to be something before that like triggered her a Fullbringer. Some kind of stressful situation. I mean, obviously we can see what the stressful situation is, but we don't know what created it. Uh-oh. Transformation again? True. Defeat them quickly and then you can leave. But you gotta like go through the process. You're gonna have to learn. You're gonna have to learn what's unique about this fighting style, separate from his Sanpakto. I think he's sort of thinking of them as like synonymous, but they aren't. They work fundamentally differently. Yeah, he has a tendency to kind of. We know he has the potential for a lot of spiritual pressure, so he does tend to break things in his wake. It was nice of him to call, though. Probably not. It seems to be an intimidation tactic, or at least like a way of kind of seeing how he would react. Maybe? Or how everyone else would react. You know, to see if Ichigo would show up if they knew that Seto was being followed. We're not taking a break this time. We're just going for it. That's a good sign. Progress. Hopefully he doesn't break this one. But he might. So we are gonna fight one of the other Fullbringers. Even then, though, Ichigo tends to. Yeah, I'm like, Ichigo tends to want a fair fight when he's going up against somebody. Interesting name. Ooh. seems to be more kind of like, it kind of makes me think of Seto's in that it's like maybe clothing that like augments her physical ability. We'll have to wait and see. That wasn't nearly as stressful as I thought it was gonna be. Which I feel like is just part of like Tsukishima's, I don't know, tactic, is that he kind of, I don't know, my predictions never fit with what he's kind of doing. Not like exactly, I think I kind of like broad strokes know what he's trying to do. But I don't know fully like what kind of the micro movements and strategy are gonna be. I do want to see some kind of interaction between like with like Ishida again, so we can kind of see what what's going on with him, because I want to see what similarities there are between his interacting with Tsukishima and Orahime's work, because we didn't actually get to see his really. We saw like the chase part and then the aftermath, but that's it. True, we're not using the plushies anymore, aren't we? Isn't that more than one? Really? I was honestly expecting that we would get more of a focus on like Ichigo versus Tsukishima, but that wasn't really what we got. Instead, we were focusing more on Jackie, which I think is like legitimate since we haven't actually focused on all of the characters of this other group. We got, you know, some of Ginjo, obviously. We also got Ryuka, who we've gotten some interactions with, learned a little bit about her. We learned Giriko's abilities and like some of him kind of interacting with different characters, but we didn't really get into Jackie or the guy who has the video games. I'm sure that we got introduced to his name too, and I just forgot like I did with Jackie, but I like that we were kind of getting a little glimpse into what her backstory involves. I'm assuming that we're going to get some more of that, because assuming the next episode we're going to get more into her character as we learn about her Fullbringer. I like that we're kind of going through what all the different Fullbringer abilities are as we're like learning about Ichigo's power, like he's trying to figure out how it works. So I'm assuming we're going to focus on her still. It looks like we're probably going to get some more Tsukishima stuff from the little clip at the end, so maybe we'll get some into him. I'm hoping for some Ishida moments, but it doesn't look like we're getting that because he wasn't in the preview, nor was his father, so I don't think we're kind of leaning into that story yet. I feel like maybe we'll conveniently not go back to him until like the information is useful perhaps, but I'm hoping that we will go back to him and interact, because I do want to see what the similarities between his interaction with Tsukishima and Orahime's interaction with him. So seeing the comparisons between Ishida and Orihime, because like I was saying, we got to see Orahime's interaction with him, but we didn't get to see Ishida's. We saw Ishida going like chasing after him, but we didn't actually see them like interact properly with each other. It cut away, and then we saw when Ishida was injured, so we don't really know what went down between them. So I would like to see maybe like a flashback, or like Sado or Ichigo interacting with Ishida to kind of see where he's at, if any of Tsukishima's ability is like affecting him, because it seems like Sado is kind of figuring it out. So I'd like that. I don't know when we're going to get that, because it seems like we're going to focus again on Jackie and maybe some of the other like plans that Tsukishima has going on in the background. But let's just get into episode 352. In 3, two, one, go. I'm very intrigued to see what this um, girl's power is going to be, Jackie. I'm assuming it has something to do with the boots because we've seen the boots in her little flashback moment, but also like the name of her Fullbringer is related to her boots. It seems to be like clothing related, so I want to know what the gamers thing is. Like, is his PSP his Fullbringer, or does he just like gaming? See, in the opener too, it looks like the Fullbringer's around her boot when she kicks. The poor guy they found on the street, though. That's just like a school teacher. Just getting pulled into the madness that is Ichigo's circle of people he knows. Yeah, it's all about your spiritual pressure instead of relying on like a physical object, like an actual sword, like you do with the Zanpakuto. He's figuring it out though. Proud of him for just kind of like I love how we keep coming back to like his previous experience. And like that's like how he's able to figure all this stuff out. Like it's not like other times where he's just kind of like not even really not knowing what he's doing. He's just kind of like instinctual. Whereas like now he's like directly linking like, oh, this is like that other thing that I've used before, so let me switch the way that I'm approaching this. Hmm, that was it. Dirty Boots was hers. She seems to be a perhaps kick-based fighter because of the nature of her Fullbringer. Yeah, you might have to figure it out, Ichigo. It's supposed to be like an actual fight kind of situation. Her stubborn nature, or her doing her own thing, because she had that whole thing about like her not actually taking orders from people or being like, oh, or is it specifically Jackie's Fullbringer? Is there a backstory there? Perhaps. Some reason why Jackie's bothers her more than others, and everyone seems to kind of know it. I like her fighting style though. I always liked kick-based fighting styles. Ooh, is she figuring out a limit for him before he needs to like take a break? Interesting that the water's like moving around the boots. I wonder if that's because of some kind of pressure coming from it, like spiritual pressure, or if there's just some kind of um effect on the water because it looks like it isn't as clean as it was before. She does have dirty as part of the name of her Fullbringer. So make them more powerful? Is that part of why Reirukia doesn't like her Fullbringer? Because it involves dirt? Interesting. A power that makes it like advantageous to um like move around a lot. It makes sense why they would also want her to fight in this like tank the water. There seems to be some backstory to that of why she like refuses to like get dirty in some way. Some baggage to that, perhaps. Also true, he's gonna have to learn how to fight like a normal human. There's a flaw with his previous training, is that his previous training is for being like a soul reaper where there's a certain amount of hits that you can take because you have spiritual pressure to protect you and stuff like that. She just doesn't have anymore, so he's probably still kind of using that instinct, which isn't correct. Ah, so the number of blades is connected. Ooh, plan? Nice. That's similar to what we saw with Tsukishima when he was like running around on the rooftops. Look at him figuring stuff out on the fly again, using it to his advantage. Mixture of people. He keeps thinking specifically of Urahara. Yeah, I guess a lot of it he kind of had to learn on the fly. Though Yoroichi did teach him a little bit. Sort of. She made him fight Sengetsu. I like how the number of like prongs on his Fullbringer fluctuates. And that's part of like how the ability works. It kind of makes me think of Toshiro's Bankai, where it has like the snowflake flower looking things, and they like decrease the more he uses it. Yeah, I want to know about it too. I think Seta wants to know about it in connection to Orihime, possibly Ishida. Oh, so we shared. I do feel like his ability has something to do with like rewriting stories. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. Are we having a control issue again? I wonder if they'll sense it. Is it like unstable because he was overusing it? Because they talked before about how that was dangerous. That's why they like sent him home to rest. Book of the End. Sure. So it's not the sword itself? Weird. You should not continue. Ichigo, your abilities going haywire. You should probably stop and see what happened. Yeah, like, figure that out. Ichigo. Oh, she's not around. Oh no. Ichigo. Is it? I feel like she's also hesitant because she has this past of people getting hurt around her. No, it doesn't change over time. So what was it? If it's not the Fullbringer itself. I would like to know that too. I feel like somehow it's connected to what's going on with Ichigo. Like Ichigo's ab ability is manifesting into something else. And maybe that's like connected to what Tsukishima is doing. Like maybe his Fullbring is also manifesting in a different way. Like he just figured it out. Also, a point that could be made. Um, hello. You just hanging out outside the door listening to the conversation? Um, we are still dealing with the mystery of what his ability exactly is. Because if Ginjo doesn't know, then that's also worrisome. No, wait. There's a few reasons why that might be a bad idea. Ichigo's going through a thing. It's complicated. Ooh, that looks like a Soul Reaper outfit, though. Just saying. The black. Because even his, like, bunkai was, like, partly his clothing. So it might be a similar thing where, like, his Fullbringer is actually, like, connected to, um, like, it's also manifesting as, like, part of his clothing, too. Interesting, though, the idea that, like, they don't, like, Fullbringer doesn't, like, change over time, like, evolve over time, is what Ginjo was saying. It's only a matter of, like, how you, like, how well you recognize how it works in, like, essence. I feel like a lot of information was thrown at me at the end of that episode, and I'm not sure if I properly caught it all. I might have to, like, go back and rewatch some stuff to make sure that I fully know what was going on, because it was, like, talking about how Fullbring works, but it was also talking about Tsukishima's ability specifically. A lot of information in the second half of that. Looks like we're possibly gonna have a fight. Maybe? Unless it isn't Tsukishima? The whole thing. So I went back and I rewatched the conversation between Ginjo and Sado because I really feel like that's important to what is about to happen in this coming apart with Tsukishima. So I just wanted to like really make sure that I didn't miss any kind of detail and I could kind of like take as much out of that conversation as possible. So I think that there's a couple of things to take away from this of like what exactly Tsukishima's abilities are. So one, it's either he can in fact manipulate people's perception or memory in some kind of way. The only way that we'll know that is like Ginjo said of going and talking to Ishida, which is something that I brought up. I was like, I really am curious to see what Ishida's experience was with him because we didn't really get to see it and it wasn't like there wasn't a bunch of detail when he was interacting with his friends at the hospital. We haven't really seen him in a while, so I think that that conversation would be good to kind of figure out whether or not he's had any kind of mix up with his perceptions. So I think that that will kind of settle whether or not it's some kind of ability that Ginjo and the others possibly don't know about. I mean, if he can manipulate people's perceptions, then like he could probably make it so they wouldn't figure it out. So it's definitely possible, but there's that one option. But then there's also the other one, which I think has some interesting connotations. So we had Ginjo saying that like maybe the Tsukishima that attacked Orihime wasn't actually the Tsukishima that like he knows or like that other people have gone up against, the one that has the Book of the End ability. is in fact a possibility, because as we have experienced with all of the stuff with Aizen, that you can in fact manipulate people's perception to the extent that like they don't actually know who they're fighting against. I don't want to say it's Aizen because I feel like we're like putting a pin in his story for a little while until, you know, Thousand Year Blood War stuff. He's, you know, locked up in Soul Society, but like that doesn't mean that there isn't someone else who has an ability that also can change somebody's appearance to match somebody else's. And I think that that is a possibility, not just because if Tsukishima doesn't have the ability that, you know, Orihime is describing, then it probably has to be somebody else. But on the other side of things, we have Orihime saying that like she had this sense of a friend, and we know that like her memory is a little bit weird because she like remembers being attacked and then there's like this gap and she comes to with Ichigo and Sado showing up, and you know Tsukishima is gone. So I feel like there's still that the opening that it could be something with like people's perceptions that way, but like she had this feeling of being friends with someone, and I feel like it's possible that she has some kind of connection with the person who is looking like Tsukishima, and because of that she can like sense the spiritual pressure essence of them, and because of that her kind of like intuition is telling her this is a friend, this is somebody that you know, but like her senses are saying like this is Tsukishima. So it's kind of that conflicting senses between, you know, what she's kind of sensing from a spiritual side of things and then what she's perceiving with her senses. So that would beg the question of like, who is it? Which I honestly, I don't know, because even if it is through some kind of, I don't know, crazy situation, it is in fact Aizen. You know, let's say this is all part of Aizen's plan too. She's not friends with Aizen. So like if she could sense it, then she wouldn't have made that connection. So I'm like, it has to be someone that Orihime is like close to, that she has some kind of friendship feeling with, but who? I don't know. My brain was like, just like in the moment here being like, what if it's Ishida? Because I'm literally just talking about how we haven't seen him in a long time. And I'm like, Ishida doesn't have the power to like manipulate people's perceptions, but also like that would break my heart so much. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what his power is going to be, but it looks like we have Ichigo figuring out something. It looks like it's very close to what he was like as a Soul Reaper with the outfit, and not only like the outfit being similar in like design, but also Ichigo having his spiritual pressure manifest through like what he's wearing. We had that with this Bankai, so it's definitely possible that he is getting closer to that, kind of escalating through the training process, because he's got all this experience, but also like it's a shorter arc. We don't have like multiple arcs within the same story for him to figure stuff out, so I'm sure that he kind of has to figure it out a little bit quicker in this one, but I'm not sure what the confrontation is going to be like. I would say that we're probably going to get some kind of brief little flashback to like what exactly happened between the last time we saw Ichigo and Jackie fighting, and then when Tsukishima destroyed what fish tank thingy, and then getting into like the actual confrontation with him. I'm not sure, but seems like we're getting into some of the main conflicts coming up. We're getting into some of the deeper stuff in this arc as we get closer to the end of it. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you miss next time I post a Bleach video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!